Morning, everybody. It's Bob the Green Man from Chateau de Muff in Mesa, Arizona, Zone 10A. It's a beautiful morning. Starting to cool down a bit overnight. We're still warm during the day. We're in the high 80s, low 90s. But overnight, we drop down in the 60s and the 50s. And this is actually prime weather for all the tropicals to flourish. For instance, we've got a pineapple here that is doing real well. Lots of new growth. Yeah, we planted it. This was the outer layer that we planted. So this was just a top off a pineapple we got from the store. Since we planted it, we've got 2 layers of leaves. And actually, I had planted it and totally forgot where I put it. I put it, right up against the irrigation system here. And so I was like, I need to water this thing a little bit better, so I have to hand water it every once in a while. But it's doing really well in this area. It gets a little bit of sun. Obviously, these bananas are a lot bigger now. They were a lot smaller. But pineapple is growing well. We'll do a video on that as time goes by. I want to see what it does through the winter. I think it's going to be fine. I mean, we've got just a nice canopy up above, which will keep it a bit warmer once we start cooling off. Today's video is going to be on citrus. Now I have 7 citrus trees in my yard. This is one. This is a Macetera Arizona Sweet Orange. Now these are actually quite a bit bigger this year, and I have figured out the watering. And I do leave oranges on the tree from last year. I didn't pick them. I should have probably picked them, but I'll take them down. We eat most everything. Just last year, I got busy with everything else that we've got going, and I didn't take them all down. But in my video today, we'll talk about each tree, and we'll talk about feeding and watering regimen. Now, all these trees that I'm going to show you have been in the ground for 14 years, so they're all mature. If we take a look at our trunk here, that's a nice mature trunk. Now, I want to show you guys the first cut that I ever made on this tree, and the importance of when you're pruning to prune correctly. So, oranges want to grow like a bush. That's where they're in their happy place. Okay, they want to be a bush. They don't want to be a tree. When you cut them like a tree, that's where this paint. This is a tree paint. And if any of you live in the valley, you see this on trees. I always thought this was to keep bugs away, but actually what it is it reflects the sun, okay, so that the trunk does not get burned. Now, if you see, trees are always growing, so this gets painted every spring. And I mean, we've got new growth here. This is not, damage or anything. This is just a tree getting bigger, okay? Um, if you leave the tree as a bush, you don't need to do this because the tree, as you can see, wants to grow to protect its trunk with its leaves. It'll shade with its leaves. Good morning, mini girl. Hi. So this was the first cut I made. And this was actually a fairly big branch that I cut. And I cut it using just a little handsaw. And if you take a look at what we've got going on here, hi baby, this is healing correctly. Okay, over here I made a cut, and I probably could have gotten a little bit closer. See, it's not really healing like, well, actually it is down in there, but I could have gotten a little bit closer so that as the tree grows, it will cover the cut up nicely to where you won't even notice. Here's another good example. This was the original tree cut, and the tree is growing around the cut to heal itself. So Masatera, Arizona Sweet, my wife loves these. These are very good, juicy. Let's get a shot of the whole tree. This is actually one of my better looking trees. And it is full of new growth. And I prune these. These are really big leaves. I prune these every March or February, because the buds will break in March. And yeah, I'll cut all that stuff that's up on top. I'll cut that back because I want to keep everything. Let's see if we get a zoom out here a little bit. No, we can't. I want to keep everything in the 10 to 12 foot range, and that's probably about 12 feet. I could leave that and let everything else grow into it, but I'll probably just go ahead and give it a nice haircut. We'll go on to our other trees, and we'll talk about them. And then once we get to the end, we will talk about feeding and watering, stuff like that. All right, so back here amidst the jungle is a key lime. Now, you'll notice all these limes on the ground. I'm gonna get away from the pool pump here. All these limes that we have on the ground, I just let them fall to the ground, and I will, let Mother Nature, recycle them, if you will. The limes are actually ripe right here. Well, that one just fell. Here's a ripe lime. And actually we got a bee right here that is pollinating a flower. That's pretty cool. This tree, they're also called Mexican limes. But this tree is, I get fruit from it year round. Okay, so we've got ripe limes, we've got juvenile limes right here. We've got almost ripe limes. There's another juvenile. And we've got baby limes right there. And then as I showed you, we got flowers in all different stages. Now, these limes are perfect for key lime pie, and I make quite a bit of key lime pie. We'll also make lime bars. It's the same as lemon bars, you just use limes. Now this tree, for a while, was shooting up. Let's see if I can find them here. Suckers, rootstock suckers. And we cut them off, and finally the tree took to growing like a tree. I did have a branch break last year, right there. That branch broke during a monsoon. But all in all, this is a really nice tree. Like I said, gives us plenty of fruit year-round. Gives me more, obviously, than I can handle. But that's okay. The critters, the birds will sit and nip on these. They will decompose into the ground. And actually, if you think about it, in the wild, you know, you don't have a chip drop in the wild. In the wild, you have leaves that fall and fruit that falls that fertilizes the tree. All right, let's move on. We'll walk back. That's the only citrus tree that we have in the tropical zone. So we'll head back to over here and take a look at the rest of our trees. Another thing about the lime is the regular limes, the bigger limes that you see in the store, those trees only last, 7-8 years. That key lime will last 30 to 60 years. So you'll see a lot more of those type of lime trees in a nursery than you will the bigger limes. I mean, if you wanted to get a bigger lime, you could, but you're gonna have to be buying a tree every 5-6 years. Next, the next two we have are Washington navels. Now these are very sweet. We've got really nice sized ones here. If you're ever wondering why they call them navels, well, it's because it's got a little belly button down there. And this tree is a really nice looking tree as well. Citrus do very well in Arizona, especially with our heat and to lesser extent our cold. I mean, we don't really get that cold anymore. I'm sure, way back in the day, they got a lot colder. But my property, I've said this before in the past, my property was a citrus orchard for like 60 or 70 years before they started building the subdivision. So this is a perfect place to put fruit trees. We've actually got some fruit ripening here. These will be ready to enjoy in late December, early January. I always just come out and try one. If it's a little tart, my wife likes tartar fruit. So if it's a little tart, I'll, pick them for her. but they'll stay, or they'll get sweeter the longer they stay on. As with all of these trees, if they're on after, the second week of April, they tend to get a little mushy. So I try to eat them by the first week of April. Here's another Washington navel. Now, the navels you have to eat quickly. You can't juice them. There's some chemical in them that when is exposed to air, it turns bitter. So, I mean, you can juice it, but you have to drink it immediately. But there's no reason to juice these because they're so delicious. Just eat them right out of the rind. Next, we have a Satsuma tangerine, which is a mandarin. And I recently learned this. I always thought tangerines and mandarins were different, but they're the same thing. And our next tree is a tangelo. Okay, so these are very good. They have a couple seeds in them. They call them zipper skin because when they are ripe, they're very easy to peel. So a cutie, the cuties that you get in the store, those are really tangerines. Here's some new growth. Now, in order for this tree to get fruit, we need another tree like it. Now, you could have two mandarins, or you could go with a tangelo. Now, this is an Orlando tangelo. These are great for juicing. I mean, they are so juicy. It's amazing. The reason why they're great for juicing is try peeling a tangelo. You're going to get squirted in the eye with orange juice. So the best thing, just cut them in half, juice them on up, enjoy that sweet, fresh orange juice. Beautiful looking tree. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Last tree we have is a Lisbon lemon. And this is a prolific tree too. I mean, there is new growth all over the place. We've got ripening fruit, and there's also some flowers. And I know I saw some flowers the other day. Let's see if I can find some here. Okay, here's the new buds, new flower buds here. Right there. Like I said, there's a plethora of fruit on this tree. These are very good lemons. They start ripening late December, and they obviously start flowering here now in early November, but they'll really start to push out a lot of flowers after the new year. As with all the citrus, they're ready to enjoy anytime from late December through the first or second week of April, I'd say. Now, the lemon tree is a very vigorous grower. This Lisbon lemon, anyway, here in the valley. So you can, like with a fig tree or my nectarine that's over there, you can give it a really hard prune. Now, I'm not going to hard prune this. I mean, I'm going to keep this. Let's back up here a little bit. Take a look. We're going to shape it up a bit. I mean, it is kind of cattywampus out here. Probably going to take some of the branches off out here. But I'm going to keep it about that height. That's about 12 feet tall. But this tree is a very, like I said, a very prolific grower. Here is really nice looking lemon. Now, I did mention earlier about the size of our fruit. And here's why. I have tinkered with our watering. Now, a mature citrus tree in the summer and spring and early fall should get, you know, a tree this size should be getting about 120 gallons every time it's watered. So I water for 50 minutes every week. And these bubblers are the same bubblers with all over in the yard. Those are 2.5 gallon bubblers. So we're giving 125 gallons to each of these trees every time we water. Now, when we are extremely hot, and I consider extremely hot anything over 110, and we don't get very many days like that. I think this year we had maybe 12 days, maybe. I mean, I didn't keep track really. But when we have that, I will, in the middle of the week, run it for 30 minutes. So instead of 125 gallons, we're looking at 75. So when it's over 110, we're going to give this guy 200 gallons of water a week. Now, you may say that is unbelievable. Well, my trees don't have sunburn. I mean, every once in a while you'll get some tips like this, but I have figured out that by doing that, these trees, they actually will put on new growth in the summer. And that is something you just really don't see. If you have dead branches, you know, like this is going to happen every now and then. You can cut these off anytime. Best time to prune these trees are in February. If we frost, and I've never seen a frost here at Chateau de Buff, but if we did, it's usually early January is when we get our coldest weather. You'd want to always prune after the threat of your last frost. Now, not only just water for the trees, you also have to feed them. So we have quite a bit of mulch here. We're going to dig down a little bit. Take a look at that soil. This is all broken down mulch. And then we get into the clay, but it's a very loamy clay. I mean, look at that. That's Phoenix, Arizona Valley, the Valley of Phoenix. You know, and we're here in Mesa. But I mean, that's what you should want your soil to look like. So we water, we give it good water. We have plenty of mulch that breaks down and feeds the worms and the microbes and the roly-polies and all that good stuff. And then they poop and feed the tree, the roots. Now, we are not wet enough here in Phoenix, Mesa, Chandler, wherever you live in the valley. We are not wet enough to warrant pulling your mulch back away from the tree. Look at all the critters floating around there, right as I moved everything. There's an earthworm right there. Okay. So you can pull back the mulch. I mean, there's nothing against it. Me personally, I let the mulch go right up against the trunk. If in the future we become like, I don't know, my mom in Wisconsin, they get 40 inches of rain a year. If that happens, then I'll pull the mulch away from the trunk. But we're only at, 9-10 inches of rain for the year. We'll be fine, in my opinion. So I also fertilize these trees with Arizona's best citrus fertilizer, and I think it's 1384. I'm not exactly sure on that. I don't have a bag here to look at it. But Arizona's best citrus fertilizer, and I just follow the instructions on the back, and it makes a world of difference when you fertilize. Now, one year I didn't fertilize because I wanted to see if my mulch and worm castings and all that stuff was doing the job. And there's a gal who I give lemons to, and she makes limoncello. Well, she said one year she made them and the lemons were okay. And the next year I gave her some more, and she was like, oh my gosh, these lemons were amazing. What was different? Well, I fertilized the year that she said they were amazing. So fertilization is key. You can't just water your trees, you have to feed them as well. They get fed 3 times a year. We do, in Arizona, Valentine's Day, Memorial Day, and Labor Day. And that, well, here's a little quail hanging out. He's looking for something to eat down in the tropical zone. Those 3 times are perfect for growth here in the valley. Valentine's Day, everything's waking up. We want to give it a nice, healthy dose of food to bring it out of winter. Quotes, by the way, in winter. Memorial Day, we give it a nice feeding to get it through the summer. So it's going to have strength through the summer. Now, don't forget these oranges, all these, and lemons and limes. These all started in like March or April. Okay, so they need water and food throughout the summer to stay healthy and grow and not fall off because of the heat. If you don't water these trees in the summer, you're going to lose your crop. And that's with any fruit tree. You don't water, the first thing it's going to do is lose its fruit because it wants to conserve its energy and save itself. Okay, when you're growing fruit trees or fruits, the fruiting process takes a lot of energy for the tree, a lot of water. Another thing, and then the last part of fertilizing is we fertilize at Labor Day. So that gives it food to get it through our winter, quote unquote. And also it gives it that last little bit of food to make an amazing tasting orange, lime, lemon, tangelo, or tangerine. Something else that I do, I will foliar feed these trees with fish emulsion. I do not do fish emulsion to the roots. You could, there's nothing wrong with that. I just don't do it because I don't know, I don't want to, you know, I do I don't know, 75, 80 trees. I don't want to do 6 more. But I do come around with the backpack sprayer and we foliar feed these. Anyway, that's my video on citrus. If you have any questions or comments, leave them below. I just thought of something. When you're planting a new citrus tree here in the valley, I would recommend the first summer, just put a shade cloth over it. And the first winter, if we're going to get near freezing, just drape a frost cloth over it just to save it. You don't have to do that. You do whatever you want. That would be my recommendation. I have never protected any of these trees and they are looking beautiful. Again, we've never been below 30 degrees for a length of time. I think the coldest we've been is 29 degrees for, you know, a half hour when the sun comes up. So yeah, when you plant a new tree, I would just cover it to protect it. You know, it's like a newborn baby. You know, you're not just gonna, you know, let your baby go out in the sun with no shirt on, no clothes on. You know, that would be foolish. The same thing applies for your trees. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed that video. I've been wanting to do a video on citrus for quite a while. Leave me a comment, question, something you do that I don't do, or if you like the video. Anyway, guys, until next time, hope you have a wonderful day.